Dear viewers, it is our celebrations for the International Tea Day, and we are going to introduce you the latest cultures of the tea. And it is a Tea Day designated by the UN General Assembly in the year 2019, and since then, every year on May the 21st, it is going to be the International Tea Day. It is a day to celebrate the positive meanings of the tea's values and the socio-economic life. It is also a very important international celebration which has been promoted by China and other different tea celebrating countries. Today, we are gathered here in the Nanjing city of Dali in the Yunnan province to give you the live streaming for the International Tea Day. And I'd like to introduce you one of our distinguished guests. So welcome to be here. I'd like to show you around. Since I have arrived here, I can feel that in the city of Nanjing, we have a quite enriching tea culture. So why do we have that? We have seen that in the north, we have the silk route, and in the south, we have the Chama ancient route. It is a route celebrating the tea and horses. So here we could see that this is an important point, celebrating the importance of the Chama Gudao. And we could see that is the costumes of the Tibetan people, and that is the costume of the Yi ethnic group. And below that, we could see that the Tibetan people really like to drink the tea. They even mixed the tea together with the milk to create the Tibetan-style milk tea. If we look below, we could see that on this drawing, it is a little bit different from the Bai ethnic group. In Dali, it is what we call the Naxi ethnic group in the Lijiang ancient city. An important hub celebrating the Chama Gudao, the ancient road of tea and houses. So these are the beautiful ladies picking up the tea buds. It is what we call the ancient tree tea, and they are actually sitting on top of the branches of the tree. It is indicating a long history for tea growing in the city, and we could see that the small tree has already grown into big ones. This is what we call the three procedure tea in Dali. For each of the regions, it celebrates its tea culture, so here it connects the different ethnic groups together. In the Dali, Nanjing, Pu'er, it is an important boundary of China, and we are here to celebrate the Chama Gudao. It is an ancient trade route in the southwest of China. We could see the International Tea Museum is located in China, while we are going to look for the origins of the teas in the city of Yunnan, because it has the eldest tea trees in China. And in the city of Nanjing, it used to be the special tea production area. And that is to say, the city of Nanjing is the tea mountain with the highest altitude in China. Its average altitude is around 2,400 meters. Just as Madam Li has introduced us, it's a very important exchange station for the Chama Road. And tea, as a very important carrier for the trade, is being spread from the southwest of Yunnan to the hinterland of China. So how do we define the Chama Gudao? We used to have this road, but we don't have this scene or conception in the Chinese mind. Later on, the Chinese scholars has came up with these callings at the end of the last century, and we have a lot of ancient publications echoing with this name. It is just what you have introduced to us. That to the north of China, we have the route of Silk Route, and to the south of China, we have the route of tea and horses. So today we are going to enjoy a sip of pu'er. So sitting in front of us, it is the production process of the pu'er tea. So pu'er tea is actually the origins of the tea. Let's find one leaf of the pu'er tea. This is the fresh leaf that has been picked. So we have a requirement that it is for one tea leaf, it is going to contain one box with 3 pieces of the leaves. This is what we call the typical pu'er tea. And if you look into the box, you will see that it's very fresh. This is the initial production procedure, and it is what we call the first round of this production. After mounting to the volume, we are looking into its procedures. The thickness should be required at 10 centimeters, while the temperature should look into 28 degrees to 38 degrees centigrade. It is designed to reduce 30% of the water contained in the leaf, and it's also an important procedure to soften the leaves. Without being drying out, the tea leaf is going to get hot and get red. It is going to affect the final taste and outlook of the tea. And the next procedure is what we call after that we are going to remove the freshness and greenness out of the tea. This is a procedure which is often quite seen in the majority of the tea production. It is also the most difficult procedure when we are trying to produce the pu'er tea leaf. I am standing near the wall. I could feel the freshness. For every single minute, we need to turn it upside down by 40 times. It is being done by pure hand. There are some of the machines and equipment, but the majority of the pu'er tea is being flip-flopped by hands. It requires a very strict technique from the master, the tea master, and for such a volume of the tea, it requires the flip-flop for 5 to 10 minutes. It is one of the most difficult part for the pu'er tea, because if we are not reducing enough greenness, the taste would be hot. But if we have removed too much of the greenness, it is going to affect the tea soup, making it not that transparent. And sometimes it might be tasted a little bit overcooked. It is also going to affect the taste of the tea. So it is going to require 10 minutes. Let's go to the next procedure. After baconing of the tea, we are going to see the tea is being presented in such a manner, and we are going to require the tea master to roll it. So this is a very important procedure to squeeze and roll the tea leaves out to let the material inside of the tea cells to be rolled out. It is also going to increase the concentrations of the tea. So there is one single principle behind this rolling. It requires a heavy touch for the fresh leaves, while for the old leaves, we are going to roll it slightly. So for each one branches of the tea, it requires different strengths, and for the different seasons, it also requires the different strengths. For the tea produced in the spring, it is going to be rolled very softly, and this is a very experience-based procedure. After witnessing that, what is the next procedure? We are going to put it under the sun and to let the sun bake it. After all of these different procedures, it becomes one of the typical teas that we are seeing here. Let me smell it. It's not as fragrant as what I'm sitting beside the oven. I think today's the leaves that we are tasting here, it celebrates the smell or the fragrance of the grass. So we are going to bake the tea into the tea cake. And we are actually pressing it into a very standard 357 kilograms of the tea cake. So in the early days of the Pu'er tea, to make it convenient for transparent, we actually add the tea at 3.5 kilometers. It is actually celebrating the harvest for 5 different grains. And I believe that for this package of the Pu'er tea, it has 7 different tea cakes, indicating the 7 stars blessing in the industry. So can you tell me what is this? It is the torcha. It is a celebration for the unity between the different ethnic groups. It actually combining 5 different tea cakes into 1 kilogram. In the ancient times, we have 2 different ways of presenting the teas. So the tea cake can be made in these 2 forms. After getting to that, we are going into this procedure. We are seeing that our tea masters is baking the tea cake for 2 minutes. This is going to make the tea being softened and being steamed through the high temperature, preparing the tea for the next procedures. I think with the steam, we could see the tea's fragrance has been spilled out. In the process of the high temperature and also the tea, it is also sterilize the tea. And after that, we are going to form the tea cake. And the next procedure, it is what we are going to see the rollings of the package. We could see the tea master is producing it in a very practical manner. And this is what we call the second time rolling. It is being used for the shapings. And it's also going to shape the tea cake according to the handcraft of the tea master. If the tea master rolled it too much, it is going to destroy the taste and the shape of the tea. What is the appropriate? Are there any specific requirement for each one of the tea? I think the specification is being decided by different types of the tea. So here we could never master such an important technique through 1 to 2 words. And here we are actually pressing the tea cake. Can I have a taste? Can I have a try on that? Am I going to sitting on top of it to use my body weight to press it down? So I am going to sit on top of that to press it down, and we are using the leverage to make the tea even and to make the tea suitable for taste. We actually ask you to press it for 7 to 8 times. And you are actually adding more pressure towards the tea. After 2 minutes, the shape of the tea cake is going to be formed gradually. And I think we are about to witness the forming of the tea cake strip. And then we are going to grab it out after pressing. And dear viewers, we are about to witness the shape of the tea cake. We are here at the Dali city of the Yunnan, and we could see that there is a very small knob here. I'm going to press it here. Then I'm going to use the stone wheel because it has its curve here on the surface. And after pressing that, it is very beautiful. After pressing that 1 to 2 times, we are going to let it went through the second time pressing. And that is how we are going to form the tea gradually. The shape that we have formed is going to be stabilized here. After 360-degree evenly pressing, the tea cake is not going to be scattered. And it's also going to guarantee the even distribution of the tea cake. After pressing that, it needs 3 minutes to let the tea cake shape being formed. After finishing that, and this is actually already formed one, we can pick this out. And I think it's still very hot. The structure is more organized and formed after pressing. Sometimes, if the tea is not being evenly distributed in the tea cake, it is easier to be broke. After pressing that, we are going to put it here for the weakening of the tea cake. So how long does it take? I think it takes around 10 minutes to let it being cooled down. If there is still the remnants of the temperature, that is to say there are so many heat inside of the tea, and sometimes the tea might be easier to be broke. That is the after production work. We can also look into the maturity of the tea cake. I think our master has finished his procedure of removing out of the freshness. Yes, we are about to get rid of all the different fragrance onto the tea. And if we are doing it too much, it might be very difficult to shape it. So if we are doing it not enough, the fragrance is not going to stay inside of the tea. The temperature shifts. You could smell the tea, and you could see the spreading of the fragrance, the essence of the tea, and also the tea leaves is not going to be broken. And we are going to roll it. So the tea master is going to continue to roll it. After that, we are going to bake it with the sun. Thank you very much. Apart from the tea cake, we could also see the tea stalls. The different colors of the tea is indicating the different taste of the tea, immaturity and maturity. That is indicating the pressing craftsmanship. Let's go to the next procedure. I think the shape has already been come out, and this is actually a handmade production. And we can wrap it up.
这样的话，实际上大家可以看到哈，这个茶叶它最后到消费者手上的时候，是一个一个的这个。
After over 30 different procedures, we could see, and the tea has been wrapped up with the papers. And for the pu'er tea, it requires a very good purity of the paper. So we are using the cotton-made paper to wrap up the pu'er tea. Inside of that is the heart of the pu'er tea cake. That is around 30 to 22 different tea cakes. It's not very difficult. Can I wrap it up by myself? And this is also the most important part. It is like to give the tea a tie, to tie the tea up. To turn it over, right? And then to put it at the circle here. And I'm going to fold it in this direction. The first one is the most important one. From this side, to press my hand in this direction. Let me have a try. I think the length is not very equal with my folding. And I am trying my best to press the paper inside of the small circles of the tea cake. It's easier if you watch the tea master is wrapping the tea cake up instead of doing it by myself. I am actually sweating down. After a few wrapping up, I think I am about to finish. So what is the final procedure? Are we using some of the glues? Yes. The production of the pu'er tea. So I think my wrapping up of the tea is definitely far from the master's. I'm sorry for that. So through today's video clip, we have a glimpse of the every single procedures of the pu'er tea. So we can give you more introduction towards the tea. Apart from the pu'er tea, so this is what we call li tiao. After rolling it and steaming it, this is the last procedure, and before the baconing. So we see the whole production process of the pu'er tea. Today celebrates the International Tea Day. We also want to let our tea masters to give us an introduction towards the different categories of the tea in China. So for each of the different places, they have their own tea. So how do we separate the different categories? According to the different procedures, according to the different fragments, we divided the tea into 6 different categories: green teas, black teas, the white tea. And so this is what we call the tea of greenness. It is also what we call the Wuliang tea. It is half-baked tea with a very importance, including improving the qualities of the skins and it is what we call half-baked. It is being baked around 30 to 80%. The second tea is what we call bai cha, the white tea. It is being used as an anti-inflammatory drug. Be used, and it is also being used as an anti-inflammation in the Chinese drugs. The black tea is what we call the pu'er tea. It is what we call the after baking tea. It is going to reduce the fat and other different molecules in the human body. The pu'er tea is 100% baked, just as the black tea. The green tea is not. It does not need to be baked. The major function of the green tea is to reduce the heatness and detoxifying the human body. The black tea is also an important 100% baked tea. It is going to warm the stomach. Some people say that the black tea is going to warm yourself up. I think according to the different procedures, the different tea have a different usage. So I think we should use the tea in an appropriate volume. This is what we call yellow tea. It is only being produced in the Hunan and Hubei province. So from the ingredients of the fermentations, the green tea is what we call the zero fermentation, and later it is the yellow tea and Wuliang tea. It is what we call the half fermented tea, and also the black tea is what we call the 100% fermented tea. So we could see here there are some of the teas already being poured here. The Wuliang tea, green tea, white tea, pu'er tea, black tea, and also yellow tea. And for the yellow tea, it does not have any colors of the tea soup. Each one of the tea has its own features. For the black tea and also the white tea, it can be preserved for a longer time. We could look at it through this direction. You might have some sip of the tea in the friend's family, and you could see such a craftsman of the tea bag and such a manner. So we could see the word quite clearly in the tea cake. For the pu'er tea, because it can be preserved for a long time, it is what we call an ancient antique that can be drank. It is also being used as a very important souvenir to be placed at some of the important stores. And we could see some of the important Chinese features being placed here. And this is the pine trees celebrating the longevity of human life. So I am going to introduce you this important souvenir here. This is what it is made from the pu'er tea. It is being selected as an international present in the year 2008 Beijing Olympic game. And it is an important gift being given. And we are using the tea cake to wrap up an Olympic medal. The pu'er tea has been celebrated for 100 years, for the thousands of years, while the Olympic Games has been celebrated for hundreds of the years. That is to say, they have selected the Pu'er tea among all the different teas to be an important souvenir and gift for the Olympic Games because the Pu'er tea is easy to be preserved. So let's go to the tea room to enjoy a sip of tea with the experts. I am moving towards the tea room. So good afternoon. We are going to have our sip of tea after the long afternoon. So here we have international tea researching experts. So here we have the Director Zhao, who is the director of the Nanjing International Tea Station, and we also have here Mr. Zhang, who is the important passengers for the international Pu'er tea. So we could say that Pu'er tea for me, because I never drink some tea. If you pass me a piece of the tea cake, I might not be understand how to drink it. But let's look at how to make tea. I'm going to give you a small demonstration of how to drink a Pu'er tea from the Pu'er tea cake. So, Mr. Zhao, can you give us a brief introduction? A tea cake in this shape. How long has it been preserved? I think this piece of the tea cake, according to its shape, has been produced for a long time through the high temperature and the high pressure pressing. It celebrates a very long history with so many different procedures. The tea was first being discovered by Shen Nong, an ancient Chinese doctor. So first we wash the tea, and then we preserve it. This is what we call the freshening of the tea. So we really don't drink the first time of the tea soup. The procedure is actually becoming clearer and clearer. This is what we call mature pu'er. Actually, if we want to transport the tea leaves from the remote mountains of the Yunnan province to every single corner in this country, it needs to be packed in such a tea cake manner. Since the first day of the tea history, we celebrate the tea and the process of the production of the tea to better preserve the tea. We use some of the leaves and we have crushed it and make it into tea cake until the Song Dynasty. We put the tea into the different category. A production procedure in this manner has been passing from the Song Dynasty to the Ming Dynasty until today. At that time, some people or some of the insiders of the industry want to get rid of the tea cake and they want to spread the tea in a scattered manner because the scattered tea is going to preserve the taste of tea better. Because if some of the friends from the remote corners of the China, if they get the tea cake, they don't know how to open the tea up, how to put the tea, how to boil the tea. It is a very unique tea drinking procedure in the province of Yunnan. If it is not being executed and being produced in such a manner, nobody is going to preserve the tea and nobody knows how to drink the tea if it's not being soaked or steamed in the correct manner. So I think with the correct way of drinking the tea, it is going to demonstrate a very good TCM, traditional Chinese medicine-like function. I think the tea also shifts with the different region. If we go to the Tibetan region, the tea is also going to be tasted quite differently with the tea in Yunnan province. So how do we identify a good pu'er tea or a bad quality pu'er tea? So for the good quality pu'er tea, it celebrates the iron red-like color. So let me invite interviewing Mr. Li. This is what we call the roasted red color of the pu'er tea. The fragrance celebrates the fragrance of the fruits and also the fragrance of the trees. This is what we call a mature tea. In the ancient time, it is naturally fermented tea. But with our deepening research into the tea, we are also using all kinds of the modern procedures to accelerating the fermentations of the tea. This is what we call the modern fermentations of the tea. After piecing them together, we are trying to get rid of the dampness and moisture inside of the tea. And then we flip them upside down through 4 to 6 times. We gradually understand the charm of the tea, and I think by a very accurate control of the temperature and moisture, we can produce the tea with the highest fragrance. So are there any international standards for us to understand the tea? So we have two huge boxes here. Two huge boxes here. So Mr. Zhang, can you give me an introduction toward it? This is the international requirement for the pu'er tea. According to the national standard for the pu'er tea, we have produced a set of the requirement for the pu'er tea. So definitely we have divided it into the standard tea and also the scattered, the tea cake and also the scattered tea. The national standard used to be a guideline written on paper, but here we see the national standard to be made in the shape of the tea for other different tea makers to follow. We have also made the tea into the grade 2, grade 4, and grade 8, 3 different standards. And for the scattered tea, we have divided them into grade 2, grade 6, grade 4, and also grade 8. And so for the immature tea, we are using the singular number to name it, 1, 3, 5, 7, while for the mature tea, we are using the dual number to name it. So this is being sealed. It is actually a teaching equipment for the standards. It is providing the reference if the company wants to produce some of the teas and applying for the national standard. This is what we call the best tea. After removing the sealings on top of that, we can compare it. The usage can be widely applied. For different manufacturers, I can feel the difference between the teas. Let's compare the two different tea leaves. So from the size of the tea leaf, you could see that for one, it is very huge and very rough, while another is very dedicated and very small, because for the best tea, it contains a lot of tea buds. It's for the best tea on the right corner, it contains a lot of tea buds. While for the worst tea, the grade 10 tea, it is using the big leaf. So by comparing the appearance of the tea, you could have a clearer understanding towards the different grade of the tea and also the different taste of the tea. And for the different levels of the tea, it is being divided through the freshness, the containing of the tea buds. And this is also what we can see here, the large tea leaf. Appearance also decided the taste of the tea. For the different tea production areas at the different seasons, the tea leaf also differs. We have the Sichuan-Banna, the Lincan, among other different regions in the Yunnan province. They are producing the tea according to the important ratio. By dividing the tea into different categories, it gives us a very clear understanding towards the tea. This is what we call the level 9 tea. It used to be tasted by the emperor. It is used to be for the royal usage. So here we could see the royal tea. And if we put it outside, we could see the small tea buds. And I am actually going to If you put some of the scattered tea on site, according to the different properties of the tea, this is what we call the 9-degree scattered tea. This is the top tea, and this is the mature and immature tea. And the tea with the big leaf is always the worst one. Very interesting. And you have introduced us the different grading principles of the Pu'er tea. So let's sit down, and I'm going to introduce you the different grading system of the tea. It is being used as an important teaching tools to the tea masters, and it's also being used as a reference for the tea manufacturers. And I believe moving forward, we are going to make the tea industry in China a very standard one. And we are also going to make the tea in Yunnan province a celebrity among all the different tea producing regions in China. I think this is a standard in its appearance, while the appearance also decides the taste of the tea. So how could you give us more introduction towards the taste of the tea? And we always talk about the materials or the tea leaves which is being used in the production of the tea. And we need to count the proportion of the tea bags in one bottle of the tea. Especially since we have so many different companies celebrating their centenary history here, they might enjoy or they might store some of the tea leaves which are being picked up several decades ago. Every year, they are preparing the original material, and they have their different degrees. For example, for the level 1 tea, they produced such an important value. I think it's not one single movement by one single company. I think as a tea maker, you need to have a certain volume of the inventory to guarantee a good usage of the tea. So here we have some of the names of the tea. For example, the tea tree tea, the mountaintop tea, or the single tree tea. This is being decided by the consumers. Some of the consumers really like a single tree produced tea, and they think they are tasting a very unique taste, which could only be found of the tea leaves on that tree. Some of the consumers really like the mountaintop tea. And I think the taste of the mountaintop tea is also being decided by the year that it has been picked up and also the manufacturing procedures. The year with its climate and moisture decided the product's quality. And I believe with that year's climate being blended inside of the tea, it has decided the taste of the tea. To make it precisely, the tea's value also lies in the value of the brand. So I have another question. So how do we give the different age groups people, different tastes. What tea is suited for the different people from the different age group?
现在就是像这种，一泡茶能泡多少个汤色，就是在能泡多少泡，它还在那个味道当中呢。
So we actually make the tea. Several different soups are on top of one single tea.
可以泡到这10次以上，也这个还有这个茶味。
I think after 10 different streamings and washings, we still enjoy the taste of the tea here.
耐泡的。
因为我看这个公道杯的大小好像都是一样，然后还有一个那个电子秤，都是每一泡都是按那个8克还是7克作为一壶的标准。
So we are using the 10 milligram
要
or
泡出一壶好茶呢，它这个它的投茶量，
5 milligram.
这个注水
And
量
this is also being decided by the water.
都是这个。
And this is a very important
一般我们普
indication.
洱茶呢，这个泡的这个投茶量呢，大概就是
Sometimes it is around
然后
7
投茶
to
水比例
8
是
milligrams.
50%。
对呀，就像如果我们不做
If we are not doing it through the public tea,
再把茶叶平常喝绿茶
because
像刚才我们
sometimes we just drink the green tea, and the green tea don't need fermentation procedure.
带下来了。
对，这个有的茶，这个泡的可以冲泡的次数比较少。
For some of the teas, it can be soaked for only several times, and then all of its taste and fragrance has gone away.
我来看一下，
We are going to pick up some of the green tea for you to have a taste.
秤就是专门用来正常就是称克数。
This is important
就是一般
weight for us to figure out the volume of the tea.
这个就是
Generally speaking, it's between 7 to 8 kilograms.
在泡的时候就是
And we also need to figure out the different volume of the tea according to its filling.
喝浓一点的这个茶叶放的投茶量大一点。这个
For those who don't want to drink a very heavy fragrant tea, you can figure this out.
汤色是一个比较浓厚型的，这就是熟茶。
This is a very typical color of the mature tea.
你看这个吃起来它是能够，它是能够看出这个对比的，对比的，是这个比较明亮的。
The ratio of the tea can be seen through the color. Indeed,
好，没事，在这边吗？好。
we are going to ask the tea master to grab another teapot. So while we are enjoying the tea, we are also enjoying the good environment in the tea room. So we have the water, the golden fish raining across the tea, and it's also calm ourselves down.
可能晚上也不是像以前似的，就是喝酒，然后谈生意。
In the Zhejiang and Air area, they used to finish their dinner and they went to the tea room to enjoy a cup of tea.
然后呢，聊得越尽兴，实际上他们是一种就是更
It is a very positive way of
也是一种新风尚。
communicating between their friends.
一会儿可以把这个熟茶的颜色和这个生茶的颜色一区分。
I think comparing the immaturity and maturity, you are going to have a clearer picture towards the different fragrance of the tea.
像我们的生茶，它主要是这个自然发酵。
So for the fresh tea, it is going to be fermented naturally, while the
变成这个
mature tea, it is being fermented
它冲起来它就会变成
through the different procedures. And after pulling that, you will see the tea soup is being demonstrated through the golden color. This is the difference of the taste.
效的区别是什么样的？
So where does the taste differ?
有一种纯熟的那种感觉。
I think it's very smooth after you have take it in.
然后呢，这个生茶呢，它这个比熟茶呢，它这个对口腔的自信要更强一些。
So what group of the people is suited for this tea? I think the Pu'er tea has a very good health function for the mature tea. It can be used or can be drank through a very good population. It is going to help you to improve the taste. So we could see the color differs, and one is demonstrating the color like wine, another is having a golden color. And in the first procedures of the makings of the tea, I think the color also being affected by the different tea. And for those with a lower blood pressure, they are suited to drink some tea like this. Some people say that the mature tea is very good to reduce the fat in the food that they intake. It is the more you drink, the better your health is going to be. But we are not suggesting you to drink a lot. So can you share me your initial understanding of the drinking tea? I think some of the rumors said if you drink too much of the tea, you might experience the losses of the calcium. But actually it's not. The tea can be drank on every single hour of the day. So we could see that Mr. Li is drinking the tea throughout the day. I exercise a lot, I do a lot of sports. It is also, drinking the tea is also going to help us to increase the immunity. I think I am not a very strong person. Sometimes my tea helps me to fight against the damage. We could see the new tea leaf. We have seen that the tea leaf can be stored for a long time. So what is the functional difference? So the Pu'er tea has one important feature, that is, the longer you store it, the better the taste is going to be. So for the Pu'er tea, we have an old saying that we need to store the old tea. And if we store the old tea for 5 years, it is going to be very helpful. And for the immature tea, for those who love tea, they like to buy the fresh tea. And for the tea makers, we like to put the old tea into the inventory. Some people think that the longer you store the tea, the more valuable the tea cake is going to be. Is it true? So they actually looked at the tea with a financial property. How do you respond to that from the market perspective, from the economic perspective? If you store one bunch of the tea cake, I think the market also tolerates these vibrations of the price, because you also need some of the time to store the tea, and the storage and inventory also makes some of the cost. Definitely, there are some of the hypes inside the market which is not very true to the values of the original tea. I think those who are under our inventory, generally speaking, it is very useful, and we are viewing it as a product instead of the financial property. So in the market, we have a thing that is what we call the sky-high pricing of the Pu'er tea. So how do you explain that? The record high Pu'er tea is a very rare case inside of our industry. So for 1 kilogram of the tea, they even market it at around 1 million RMB. I think it's only used for the advertising. Sometimes this is not agree with the reality for the general consumers. If they want to have an experience of the Pu'er tea, where should I go? If I'm very busy in my work and my daily life, where should I go if I want to have a taste of the Pu'er tea? How can I select a taste of the Pu'er tea according to my own taste, according to my own need? I suggest you to find some of the regular or standard Pu'er tea maker, especially those with 100 years of history. Generally, the former Pu'er tea maker or the have around 100 years history, because the Pu'er tea also enjoys a long history. This is a very important model that has been spread across the industry. Generally speaking, I believe the Pu'er tea maker has 10 to 50% of their profits inside of the price. If you select a very good maker, you can understand each one of the tea makers. I think because we are the formal makers, if we want to buy some of the teas, and we generally feel we think it is very suited. I think you mean that if the new tea makers in the industry, without enough money and without the knowledge of the tea, they cannot make it, right? It is not exactly true, but even if the tea looks the same, it does not drink the same. So for the good tea, it must be after several times of the taste. You need to have a clearer understanding of the maturity, and you should understand the proportions of the different tea leaves and different grades of the tea. And I believe that for the production volume of the Pu'er tea, it can be detailed into such a level that sometimes for one single region it only produces several kilos of such a tea leaf. Currently, we are seeing the tea leaves being formed in such a manner. I believe the tea price is definitely going to go back into the normal fluctuation standard. From the general taste to the appearance of the tea and to people's awareness of the tea, it's definitely going to be improved as we moving forward.
其他的这种各种元素。
While we are blending every single element together to celebrate this beautiful tea.
怎么讲究吗？我要不问一下这个90后的茶人哈，就比如说，他这种拼配茶，就是如果要是让你拼吧，你觉得就是什么样的特点？比如我想要一个偏甜的或者什么样的。
So how do I have a sip of the tea? How do I taste this tea? Do you prefer the sweet tea? So when I'm starting my learning journey of the tea, I believe there are some of the wonderful tea masters. They have different understandings of the tea. I also want to share my understanding of the tea to dear friends who drink the tea. I think for a general piece of the tea, it used to be 1 blood plus 3 to 4 leaves. Inside of the tea, you need to taste the sweetness of the tea. It has decided the tolerance of the tea in the long term. And if the tea has a lot of tea buds and a higher fragrance, it means higher fragrance. So if the tea leaf is very huge, it means the tea can withstand several times of the water's washes. So we should also look into the production of the tea seasons, different regions, and different years to look for the more weather and more moisture. And you are going to select the best tea out of that. You have mentioned about the formal manufacturers of the tea. I think these are some of the knowledge that I want to share with you. After your introduction, I understand that the national standard is only a standardization towards the appearance of the tea. It's not about the taste of the tea. The buds, tea buds, is only about the fragrance, right? Although tea is being divided into the different grades, we still need to look at the saturations of the tea to give the tea a very comprehensive evaluation. But the actual fragrance of the tea is only being decided with the region it is being produced. After you have a taste, you are going to have a clearer understanding of the tea. And I think the tea who's being liked by yourself is the best tea for you. Do not pursue for such a high quality tea or high pricing of the tea. I like to drink green tea myself. I think it's not of high value, but it suited me. You need to find a tea that is suit your own taste and love your own tea. After dinner, you can pour some of the Pu'er mature tea. It is going to be very helpful. But in the morning, we suggest you to drink some of the immature Pu'er green tea. It is going to weakening yourself up. So how do you give the different categories of the tea? I think in the region of Yunnan, we celebrate different types of the tea and different types of the tea trees. And the tea, it contains a lot of tophamine. That is the function behind the tea. It is going to remove the inflammatory factors in the human body. Thank you very much for your sharing with the different fronts of the tea and the International Tea Day. As you have mentioned, with the rising of people's consumption power,
在最近几十年也可以看到非常明显
There is a very distinct shift of people's day-to-day habit.
上世纪70年代发明了这个渥堆这样的一个技术，
I think
加速了它的
the
茶的这个
streaming method and fermentation method of the tea in the 1980s has accelerated the marketizations of the tea.
然后品茶的人也多了，那么对于
And for the people's pursuit of the mountaintop teas and also the highly fragmented tea, it is demonstrating a segmented market.
再到后来的话，现在由于越来越多的
And some of the people is pursuing the tea being picked from the ancient trees.
然后到现在，其实
We are going back to the lifestyles of the ancient Chinese people and celebrating the long history of the tea.
也可以也
We hope
大
that
家通过这个
through the introductions of the International Tea Day,
咱们的普洱茶文化，然后有空像您
if you have some of the
来点生茶，提提神儿。
tea break during the afternoon, we suggest you to have a sip of the Pu'er immature tea, while if after dinner, we suggest you to take a sip of the Pu'er mature tea. Thank you very much for joining us today.